For January the 17th, 2025, we talk about My Summer Car, Sorry We're Closed, Dice Kingdoms, and much more. Welcome to Level 528. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, Ben.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm back.
You're back.
And my back is back.
Your back is back. Yeah,
no, don't jinx it.
How you doing,
Don't
bud?
jinx it.
I'm doing all right. I think I'm mostly back to normal. I think the litmus test was traveling to Cincinnati and back for the holidays.
Yeah, plain
so
seat
I made
will
it
do
through
it.
that. Yeah.
To be clear, we're talking about your normal. I'm not sure you're ever back to normal.
Fair. Yeah, that's true.
I think Ben might be I don't know. Dennis has a whole family.
Doing the normal stack ranking of the
podcast.
Yeah.
Just tier ratings of my friends. Don't worry.
in 30 Rock, where I think it's Jenna and her boyfriend, or they're like the super kink couple. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we found this new thing we call norming. It's just where we pretend to be normal, and it's so hot, and you just keep on doing it for weeks at a time. I think that's where Jen and I wound up somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
My roommate in Austin did Middle Class Wednesdays, and they would go to Red Lobster. So I think that was their version of it.
I have very weirdly nostalgic memories of Red Lobsters.
Yeah.
Red Lobster. Yeah. I think specifically all of the nautical themed decor and stuff really spoke to my childhood imagination,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's not a restaurant, it's a ship, and you're on the inside of it.
Exactly.
And you can communicate with flags, you guys. Did you know this? you can talk, but it's with flags.
Yeah. Oh, I actually had to learn that in Boy Scouts.
Yep. No. Yeah.
You could have just learned it in Red Lobster. They've got a guide and everything.
So how was your holiday? It's been a very long time since we had you on the show.
I know. I guess I'm a week late for the holiday recap. It was all good. Family's all good. There's exciting news. My brother's going to have a third child.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
And it is a girl, which is a big deal for that side of the family because it's just all boys everywhere. So I think everyone was really happy with that.
Nice.
But yeah. And then, this was the first time I took my partner to the Ohio area. So I was kind of holding my breath the entire time I was at my dad and my brother's, which is the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia area, which is somewhat of a cultural whiplash from where we live. But it was good. My family was exceedingly friendly, and it was a good time. And I think more recently for news, I did a yoga class on Sunday for the first, he did one for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And
hot yoga. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. I am very tired still from it, but it was a fun time. And then other than that, I've been watching a bunch of Best Picture type movies towards the end of the year in preparation for whenever the Academy Award nominees get announced. But
any you'd recommend?
I'm going to see The Brutalist this Friday, so probably that's going to be better than most anything I've seen. Surprisingly, I thought Here was good because the subtext is about the crumbling of the American dream over the last 50 to 100 years.
Okay.
And so I thought that was a surprise kind of well-written movie, despite there's some things that are kind of corny, but
can we not miss how that Brutalist comment was the most Midwestern nice burn I've ever heard? I'm going to see something new in a couple days, and it'll probably be better than anything I've seen so far.
Yeah, I don't know. It's getting a lot of it reminds me of There Will Be Blood, so I guess the bar is high for me going into it. So we'll see.
Is it
we'll see where it
architecture
lands.
or?
Yeah, it's about kind of the rise and fall of an architect in post World War America. But I think the subtext of the movie is he has a wealthy financier, and it's kind of who has control between an artist and the person funding the artist, and like what should you do in that situation?
It's the Fountainhead.
Ooh, perhaps I have not read that because
that was more Art Deco.
Better thing.
Probably should not. It is amazingly the Ayn Rand tripping backwards into creating an amazing work of anti-capitalist fiction.
On accident.
Yeah, like the whole thing is literally about a guy being butthurt because he makes these amazing like works of architecture, but they don't make any money because the market doesn't like them, and that's bad.
Good.
It's the weirdest cell phone. Sorry, that was a tangent.
That's fine. That's what this podcast is.
Yep. I mean, mostly by volume.
But that's about all I got.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have much. I slipped and fell on my ass today.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. See? You know, it's
wait, like pratfall style?
Slipped
Kick
on
out a
ice.
good banana peel?
No, so it was one of those falls that was not very fast. It was more like a process. Like I had time in the middle of it to like before my ass hit to think, oh, I'm falling.
This is gonna suck.
See, I feel like that would be an amazing like where they call it like heuristic or something to like determine if someone is old or not. Like when someone says like it was a fall, but one of those delayed falls where you know what's going to happen. Like if you understand that, then you might not be young.
Yeah, well, no. The reason that I laughed when you guys expressed concern is like it's the first time I recognized that I passed the threshold where somebody falling flat on their ass like is a matter for concern, and not and not something worth laughing about, like a comedy joke.
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
people. Over the holidays, people talked about ice skating, and the reaction was like horror. Like, are you okay? Like, what's everything?
I'll just play Russian roulette over here then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to tangent again. I was listening to, I think it was on NPR, a fascinating thing. It was talking about like all these, all the pratfalls with bananas and how does. What's the deal with that?
Oh, it used to be a scourge.
Well, and apparently one of the arguments is like the original version of bananas that we all ate. Like there was a blight and they went extinct. And so there's some theory that like in that time period, bananas actually were slippery.
Okay. No, just what is the Cavendish or whatever?
Yeah. I don't know that I believe that. However, I think that's my new headcanon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
it's as acceptable as any answer. Yeah. No, so I didn't hurt myself. It was just kind of embarrassing. Nobody was outside. I was walking to the mailbox. I wasn't even doing anything cool. So
were the cats watching? That's the real question.
I think Greta was in the window. Did not seem
falling summons them if they're not there already.
Yeah. Did not seem, I almost said something really depressing. No, did not seem to be that perturbed by it. Yeah. So that's really all I've got is just waiting for ramifications from that. Let's see if it pans out.
Are you taking the ibuprofen?
Oh, I
head it off.
I walked inside and immediately after changing my clothes because I fell in the snow, I took some Aleve. So, yeah.
It feels like we're in our 40s about,
Yeah, we're approaching that. We're getting there. Let's see. Moxie, how about you? What's going
on? Honestly, not a whole heck of a lot. Had a movie night over the weekend. Watched The Killer Shrews.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Is that a response to Taming of the Shrews?
They definitely make that joke in the movie.
Okay.
Is this like one of those like 1950s like horror movie thing? Like,
yeah. So yeah, scientists are experimenting on like genetic whatchamadingling and accidentally make genetic or giant shrews.
okay.
And then try
Shrews
to
with enlarged Watchman-dingles.
Right, exactly. And then try to poison them to like, take care of them. But it interacts with the shrews' natural poison. Fun fact, shrews are venomous.
Mm-hmm.
And gives them like super venom.
Okay.
And then like B-rated horror ensues. Probably the best part is that the monster effects are half like, I don't know, some sort of like overlay exposure. I don't know exactly how they did it. Just of like, a close-up of like a shrew or a mouse or whatever, like looking through the cracks in the in like the fence around the house and stuff like that. And then all of the rest of it is basically the shoes themselves are a bunch of like medium-sized dogs wearing basically full body wigs.
Nice.
So yeah, it's actually quite entertaining, and like the attack scenes are just very much like, imagine a dog that is very excited to see someone is just kind of jumping on them and that sort of thing. Like that is straight up the attack scenes.
Nice. Sounds like a good time.
Yep.
Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I was going to complain about having a stomach bug earlier in the week, but now I feel like we've had too much olding, and so I will do a kids Pathfinder update instead.
Okay.
We've continued playing. The fun thing about playing with kids this age is that just how genuinely they engage with every single facet of the world. Where I had them fighting some orcs. And it was, my encounter was set up for, the two weaker guys. They'll take those out, and then I'll have the boss show up. And so I told them that as they were fighting, the weaker guys are being like, boss, get in here, as they're fighting them. And we had to take a time out and talk about, well, like, are they fighting because they want to, or are they fighting because their boss is making them? And is it ethical for us to be fighting these little guys if the boss is the real problem? And
how culpable is a henchman?
Yeah, it's and it's like, well, they would rather die than run away from combat. And they're like, well, why? And I was like, well, because they're orcs. And they're like, well, Dad, your race does not determine. No,
yes.
not quite in those words, but just the whole fight we had to stop midway through, and because we ran out of time discussing all these facets of ethical conflict, I guess. So
you need to explain to them, this is D&D. It is entirely within the rules for you to turn the orcs against their boss and like push for revolutionary social change.
Usually that's my
favorite
move.
part. Yeah, my favorite part was halfway through this conversation. Milo stops and he goes, "Wait, did they shoot at us first, or did we shoot at them first?" And like this look washes over his face, and like, I have you right where I want you. Yeah, so it continues to be.
I get the intention of that, but in my head, it's just delivered like Dirty Harry style. I know what you're asking yourself. Did I shoot you first, or did you shoot me first? You feeling lucky, punk?
How many spell slots was that? What level caster am I? It's a blast.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that sounds like banter to me. I think we should talk about some video games. And why don't we do it? By having a regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. We're going to get started with
The Grind.
The Grind, where we talk about the games we've been playing over the last period of time or so. Ben, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, I've kind of called, there's a bunch of games that I've kind of half played and been like meh and kind of thrown them away. not going to talk about those. I'm going to instead talk about 2 new games that I've kept installed and kept playing. But before that, I'm going to give a shout out to one game that I've been playing a lot that's an older game.
Okay.
And that is Last Call BBS Dungeons and Diagrams. It's a game that I'd forgotten about for a long time. I saw someone playing it recently.
Is that one game or 2?
It is one game. Well, Last Call BBS is like a collection of games on a fictitious...
Okay.
It's a Zachtronics game, so it's like you find an old like 90s-esque computer that has a bunch of like games installed on it, and you, through that interface, launch games to play that you want to play.
It's a Zachtronics game, so they make it as impossible as they can to describe what you're actually playing.
It's But in this one, this is one of the like 5 or 6 games you can play, but this is the one that I'm kind of like locked in on. This is basically like my new like Picross or Sudoku, where it's like if I'm doing something on the other screen and just like want an idle game to like kind of play very quickly, I do that. But I'm sure I probably described it one time like 3 or 4 years ago or whenever I played it for the first time, but I'll describe it again. It's similar to Picross, where you have an 8x8 grid and you have numbers on the columns and rows. Except instead of it being like a spacing or something like that, it's telling you the number of total things that are filled in each row and column. And then on the 8x8 grid, there could be monsters or treasure chests, and any combination of those. And the rules are that monsters are at dead ends of of this maze, because what you're making is going to be a complete graph or a connected graph. Mm-hmm. And so the monsters will be at dead ends, and treasures are in 3x3 rooms. So it's almost like the game that you described like a couple months ago.
Dungeon Divers is the one. Yeah.
But those are always the rules. There's only 2 different things like that, and there's 100 puzzles in the base game, but there's an infinite mode after that where you can just go to like random ones and just keeps a counter of that. Mm-hmm. So that has just been a lot of fun for me personally. Mm-hmm. I don't know if other people would even like this or not, but
this sounds rad, actually.
Mm-hmm. Important question though. Do the monsters want to be there, or are they just there as their day job?
Yeah.
I don't know, but they celebrate when you solve the puzzle, so they don't seem all that bad.
Okay.
Life has purpose, which is to be ended.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to that game. Recommend it. There's not much beyond that description, though. So I'm going to move on to the next one, unless there's any questions. All right.
Go for it.
The more substantial games that I've been playing that I can talk about are the first one is Dice Kingdoms. It's a game that I picked up recently. It is a multiplayer game. It looks kind of similar to something like Thronefall, which is a game we talked about previously, where it's kind of like a low fidelity, like polygonal type game. And in that one, it's like a tower defense type rounds. This one's a little bit different where the aesthetic looks the same, except it's multiplayer instead of a tower defense game, and you're just trying to attack your opponents. And so the game takes place over 4 rounds. It heavily involves dice, as the name might suggest, Dice Kingdoms. The idea is every building, everybody's on an island. You start off with like maybe 6 or 7 different buildings. So everyone starts with the same ones. And every building corresponds to a dice that you have in your tableau. And so over the course of the 4 rounds, the first round is you roll the dice, and then you get whatever's turned up on the die. And it could be resources like wheat to feed your people. It could be a sword, which are like units that can go fight other people. It could be a skull, which is its own meter, this like death curse meter, which I'll talk about later. Or it could be something like reading, like for churches provide like scripture, which corresponds to like a tech track. So basically everything on the die does something different, but there's not too many options.
That's immersion breaking.
I think I've named almost all of them. What's up?
Churches contributing to the tech track?
Yeah,
I'm just doing it.
It's kind of like medieval type stuff where it's like all the sacred texts were there, so that's like the place of learning.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the first round is just getting all those resources. The second round is building, where some of the resources you have will allow you to build. If you don't have enough food to feed all your people, then a random number of your buildings just will not work. And then so you build more on your island and progress that way, and building more buildings will give you more dice in the next round. And then the last two things you do is you resolve curses, which means for pretty much every die will have at least one skull on one of the faces or more. And there's this curse track that's maybe like 10 or 12 high. And it has this really weird mechanic where every other one affects your island and every other one affects a random opponent's island.
Okay.
And so you get 2 rerolls on your die rolls. And so it's this weird thing where you want to make sure you land on an even number instead of an odd number, because it'll negatively affect someone else instead of you. But the top of the track that it maxes out on is something that affects you. So it's definitely a push your luck, where the best case scenario is getting the second position on the track, because that sends like a tsunami to somebody else's island and like wipes off a chunk of it. But if you misroll or miscalculate or accidentally roll too many, then you get a meteor that lands on your island. And the curses are fixed each round. It's not like random or anything. And you can kind of like play around them. So for example, the first few are like, you can get plague if your buildings are close together, which like negatively affects the building. But you can avoid it by just not building your things together. But then the risk reward of that is you're spacing your island out, and then you're probably more susceptible to attacks from other people. I've only played this single player. I should be playing this multiplayer this week. So I can only speak so far in saying it's an interesting, quick little builder. I think it might have like, it's fun for like a night or two of play, or it's like a fun game to play just for like the novelty of it. I don't know if the depth is going to be there or not, but we'll see. There's some interesting decisions with like the tech track of like what you can unlock in what order and like kind of what to go for with that. It feels like a Civilization game from that respect, where there's kind of a lot of different options to go on the tech track. I think that's...
Does it look like when you're doing multiplayer, there will be good rock, paper, scissors with like, okay, I need to respond to what my opponents are doing to find the optimal play, rather than just always knowing like, oh, this is going to wind up being the best choice 100% of the time?
So that's probably a question I'm not equipped to answer, because the prospect of playing against random people online sounds terrible to me. I definitely want to play this game with friends, where you can use politicking to take out the person who's too far ahead, like that sort of thing. I feel, so I wouldn't know that. I would rely on you for that, Dennis, to tell me how difficult the actual multiplayer is. But
sounds like I might be looking to play this with you in the coming week.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I think it's a cute game. Again, I don't know if the depth is there or not. There's at least some diversity in play, as far as like there's multiple ways that you can try and get ending. Like, for example, one of the things you can do on the tech track is you can unlock something where you can get die that give you more curses, and so you can more readily unlock a curse where you can transform some of their houses into like other buildings that are less good for them or just different for them. And so like that's one way to go about it. Going early on military and just trying to take out people's buildings so they can't expand is like another way. I don't think I talked about this. One of the rounds is sending military. So any of your military units, you just pick a building for them to attack. I think you can only do one at a time, so that kind of prevents like them swarming everything. And then your base building naturally defends, kind of like in Civ. So usually at the beginning of the game, the attack's like not really a prudent idea, but you definitely ramp up into that. But anyway, cute Civ multiplayer game. Shrug. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm now less likely to play it.
I was curious how the randomness would play with the city builder, which I see as a pretty deliberate thing, but finding out that it's the resources makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a good feedback loop too, like deciding which buildings you want to go for. So I do think it is a good job of, even though there's maybe only like 4 or 5 strategies that you can go for, it does do a good job of like having a good feedback engine of like your choices early on do affect like how quickly you ramp up into those strategies. So, but yeah, so it's got decent design there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna move on.
Dice Kingdom.
Very cool.
The last game I got is a VR game called Puzzling Places. I think this has been out for a while. And this ties into what I did over the holidays, which was one of my Christmas gifts was a Lego set.
Ooh.
Didn't ask for it, but I definitely wasn't upset that I got it.
Was it like a specific model set or?
Yeah, it was succulents, I guess, is like one of the.
Oh, I love those. Yeah, those are so cool.
Yeah, and so I got like the one that I got's like 9 succulent plot or whatever, and so it's kind of like 9 little mini Lego sets, and so and they all kind of wedge together. So so that was fun to do. And then I think immediately after I did that, my partner ordered a Lego set to my place for her to assemble, and I'm looking at it right now, and I cannot play with it. So
things are getting serious.
Quite sad.
That just reminds me.
There's wearing your boyfriend's sweater, and then there's assembling his Lego sets. It kind of progresses up the tracker there.
I feel like this is a form of torture, though, where it's like a Lego set that's there on the table.
That sounds to me like it would be like what someone would complain about in a divorce proceeding in like a horrible romantic comedy. Like, and can you believe she assembles my Lego sets?
Oh, gosh.
But tying it back into Puzzling Places, this is what I got to like resist the urge to open up and assemble somebody else's Lego set. So
Lego Narcan.
Yeah, exactly. Puzzling Places is a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle in VR. And so the idea is it'll give you a diorama, and you pick an option of how many pieces you want it to break into. And then in VR, you just put those pieces together, and they'll usually have some sort of like ambient soundtrack in the background. For example, if it's like, I think one of them's like a Asian food shop, like a kind of like not like a food truck, but like a stall or whatever.
Yeah.
And like it's like you hear this
restaurant or something.
Yeah, and you hear like this ambient noise in the background of like people walking about, and it feels like you're in like a downtown area and stuff. And I don't know. Yeah, it's like super relaxing. And yeah, like the scale of difficulty is nice, so that you can kind of like, if you want to sign up for a 5-minute thing, you can do that really quickly. But if you want to kind of hunker down for like a 30-minute to an hour thing, you can do that.
Being able to choose how many pieces it gets into.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
a really good idea.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I played the demo for this too, because you can do like I think 2 of the maps before like purchasing it. So I was pretty confident that I would enjoy it, the full product. It is a game that kind of suffers from like there's like 100 expansions that it has, where it's like buy the X set or buy this set. But I've been pretty happy with what I've seen so far. I don't know exactly how many things you have access to. I believe like new ones come out where people just make them and submit them, maybe.
Oh, that's fun.
Because like even today, like there's some on the front page that I didn't notice yesterday. But you can sort all of them by like enjoyment. You can rate them yourself and do that. It's mostly enjoyable. I think the only asterisk I'll put on it is sometimes some of the puzzles will have like interiors and exteriors that you're putting together. And so sometimes that can get a little quease-inducing, where you're pulling the puzzle through your face so you can see the inside of the building, and then move another piece inside to like fit it in. But I think that's mostly fixed by just sorting by like ranking, and then you don't run into that.
Yeah,
or run into it less often. I think one of the highest rated ones that I did was this thing where it's like a monster concert. It's like horror themed, and it has like a bunch of Easter eggs where it's like there's a door with somebody trying to axe it down in the corner with twins next to him, that's from The Shining, and like there's a bouncer letting people in, and it's like there's Freddy on the outside and stuff like that, and there's a band playing and stuff. But a good thing that they did with it is there's no like interior exterior problem. Just like half the wall is gone on one side, so that you can just look into it without like going into it. Yeah. But then like the scene itself will animate while you're putting it together too. So like the band will play and people will dance like as you're putting the pieces together.
Oh, that's dope.
Will they scream if they're only half there?
No, I think I haven't looked too deeply on how they do that or like mess with the puzzle size with it to see what they do. But yeah, I assume that the animations, like people are generally in the same area so they don't wander off a piece. But yeah, no, it's but it's pretty cute. I don't know how many more there are like that, but it seems like that might be the creme de la creme. But yeah. Yeah, in any case, I think this is like one of those games where I think it will have longer legs because it's something you can do to like sit down and relax at the end of the day. So
it's an activity.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Sounds neat.
Have you ever thought like, oh man, I wish I could make one of these? Like you talked about people creating and submitting them.
No. I feel like that's something I would rely on you for, Dennis, and I feel like you do a great job with that.
In mine, they would definitely scream if they were only there.
As well they should.
Talking about the Lego thing and just it being like, oh, I put together my Legos, just brought to mind. Have you all seen the Funko Pop prenup?
What?
I'll post a link and I'll read a little bit here. Effective as of August 1st in the year 2016, this contract will serve as an agreement between James and Amanda, last name, regarding the purchase of Funko Pops. As of August 1st, James shall only be allotted $30 per week on purchasing Funko Pops. Monthly, James shall not spend more than just laying out like a contract.
Yeah.
No idea if it's real, but it made me think of that. Also made me think I have a Lego like piranha plant for Mario that I got on sale, and I have not put it together yet. So I need to do that when I have like an hour uninterrupted.
This probably says I'm like the world's most boring person, but that is one of those like Lego plants is on my list of like things I want to get myself the next time I want to like binge purchase something, or impulse purchase something.
Treat yourself.
I've fully crossed over to the point where like the Lego, doing like the Lego Taj Mahal, like the non-branded Lego stuff, like just like literal model kits is interesting to me. Like, I don't know, I'm constantly eyeing like a Lego world map or the like a Lego version of the Great Wave woodcut.
Oh, I didn't know that was even a thing. That's actually
my neighbor
cool.
is making that, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
The thing, like he's got kids too, and it's just sitting out on his living room table.
Oh wow.
I'm like, I don't understand. Are you like, what? How? I that would be missing pieces in 30 seconds if I did that.
Well, I have to do it in an uninterrupted hour because I don't want to leave it out with the cats.
Yes. So yeah, you've got a similar problem.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed. This is really cool looking. Oh, they even have a little Lego brick with the signature.
I don't know if it's like this for any of y'all, but I think it's weird that with Legos, it's the putting it together is the enjoyment, and then when it's done, I could care less about it. Like I could throw it away. No. It's like.
See, that's how I am with like collectible card games. Like I only care about making the deck. I don't care about actually playing.
I actually resent it because like the other Lego thing that I put together like a couple years ago was like the first Lego Sonic set that they put out. Which is like a little level. It has the loop-de-loop and everything. And it was so fun to put together, but I resent it so much because I have to dust it and keep cobwebs out of it.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, Lego knows this. That's why every box has like pictures at the back of the manual of like different things you can build with the set.
Yeah.
You're not, you're fine.
I've got stuff I can say. The thing that I've played the most of is something that I streamed. But over this past weekend, I started streaming a game that Jala has spoken about before called Sorry We're Closed.
Oh man.
Okay, yeah, this does sound familiar.
Yeah, this is kind of a throwback survival horror style game where you are playing as a young woman named Michelle who gets kind of wrapped up in this angelic and demonic plot. Like there's a particular demon who has cursed her and put a lien on her soul. It's also kind of a big breakup metaphor with like the fall from heaven being like a big breakup for demons. There's a lot of like thematic stuff going on with it. Aesthetically, it is incredibly colorful in a garish kind of way, which is real cool. It's also ridiculously queer in its themes and presentations, which is neat. Gameplay wise, you are kind of going into these kind of demon touched places, hunting down other people who have been cursed in order to try and solve your own curse. It is third person when you are just kind of moving around and exploring. There is combat, but it is done from a first person point of view. So there's kind of some Killer 7 DNA in this. And kind of the hook beyond the fact that you go into first person and can't move when you're fighting is that you have a third eye that can open that kind of lets you see an alternate reality in a short little radius around you.
Okay.
And there's a trade-off. When you have your third eye open, you can see the weak points on the demons. However, you can only do damage if you hit them on the weak points. If you have the third eye closed, you can hit them anywhere, but you do less damage. And the idea is you want to kind of combo chain direct hits on the weak points in order to build up your like ultimate attack super weapon kind of thing. And it's kind of you're playing chicken a little bit, which is the enemy needs to be close enough for this to work that I need to be in active danger while I am making these incredibly precise shots on them, hoping to maximize my resources because this is like a survival horror style, resource loop conservation kind of deal.
Now you can't hit the weak points if your third eye is closed, right?
Correct.
It's not just a scene thing, it's in being able to interact with thing.
You do a little bit of extra damage if you like hit them in the head. Like there's a certain amount of like modeling for that. But you are not getting like the critical hit stuff. And you're definitely not getting like the combo points if you are not seeing the weak points pop up.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It looks like the weak points will like jump from one spot to another as you shoot them. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So like you'll hit one in their torso and then it'll go down to their leg and then it'll go up to their heads. It's the same on every given enemy type. So it is not just like popping around at random, like, the order, like, okay, I shoot this in the chest and then in this leg and then in this arm or whatever.
Oh, so the rotation is the same as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Aesthetically, it is really cool. I think that is the biggest statement that it makes. It's definitely like something that will stand out when you sit down and fire it up. I do believe that it is a little bit too talky. It was about 40 minutes when I sat down to play it of like getting to know all of the people in the neighborhood before I got into a survival horror dungeon and was kind of doing video game stuff, which is a little bit of a bummer.
That's a AAA bullshit levels.
A little bit, yeah, for an 8 or 10 hour game, which is like the writing is fine, like the characterization is good, and finding out like how everybody in your neighborhood is kind of like involved and wrapped up in this is kind of neat. I just think a little bit more economy would be more to my taste.
I feel a little bit bad that the one guy in your neighborhood that's super pumped about demons and stuff is the only one that's not a demon or an angel and has no idea what's going on.
And cannot see or interact with them or has not made a deal. Yeah, he's like a record store owner who's like a conspiracy theory kind of guy who's gotten way into demons lately and does not realize that he's just completely surrounded by them. Another thing that kind of stands out, which it's a choice that is not made for any other game like this. The boss music. Like I fought I fought two bosses, and they're kind of doing almost like a Persona kind of thing, where like in Persona when you fight like the chapter climax bosses, they're like lyrics in the songs, they're kind of thematically appropriate to them, except instead of being jazzy kind of pop kind of stuff like in Persona games, the songs are like original hip hop songs.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it works. Huh. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think particularly the first one, where, you know, kind of the person you're fighting, their kind of sin is avarice. Yeah. And so, you know, they really play up its, one of the hip hop tracks that's, you know, very much the, you know, bragging about what a what a baller I am and how much money I have and all that stuff. And like, it just really works. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So marks against it for the talkiness or whatever. Aesthetics are pretty much an unalloyed win, for me. And, man, it is such a time-worn survival horror thing where like, oh, there are two versions of the world. You know, there's the one you see, and then here's the Silent Hill Otherworld version of it. It's been explored in a lot of different ways. And, I think like maybe the worst iteration of it, like maybe Deadly Premonition, but like especially Silent Hill Origin, where it's not like you go through each version of it twice. It's like, oh, every you can go back and forth at particular points, but effectively it means that every dungeon is twice as big. Just in the most tedious way. This is a really interesting way to handle it because it is not a complete world state change like you would get in something like the Medium. But instead, it is like when you have your third eye open, things will be, it's inconsistent whether like the third eye shows you the fully Draculated version of things or whether you live in the Draculated version and it shows you the real version. But like the fact that it only materially changes what is close to you makes exploring the spaces and seeing what changes and what's different or who is kind of concealing their true form is an interesting and I think kind of lightweight and breezy way to examine something that could be really ponderous.
Cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed as I was watching you play, some of the demons that are pretending to be people are very much just like, nah, I just really wanted to do this. Uh-huh. Like, just like there's one that's just like the demon mailman, and it's just like, nah, I just really wanted to be a mailman.
Yeah, no, I'm doing it. Isn't it great? They got to do something.
Yeah,
so otaku, but demons to humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The aesthetic, this is kind of a callback, but that alternate world thing almost reminded me of, do you guys remember Quantum Conundrum?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of that, where like you change the different dimensions and stuff.
Yeah, the fluffy dimension or the heavy metal.
Heavy dimension, yep.
Yeah.
God, what a gem of game.
Yeah, no, we did a watch out for fireballs on Superliminal, and that came up in a discussion of just like, for as big of a cultural footprint as Portal had, there, like, if you go looking for a Portal like game, you don't find very many of them.
No.
Yeah. So that's Sorry We're Closed. Any questions about that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. There's other stuff that I have played, but not enough of it to like have new things to say. So like I've done more Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and that just continues to be good in the ways that I described last week. So I don't have anything to add on that. I've started playing.
I guess reassuring to hear that it's not we poured everything into our first level / sequence and now the rest is dross.
Yeah, it continues to be fun and engaging. I've started up a kind of a new adventure game that is really highly rated from last year called 1000 Times Resist.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Stylized as 1000X Resist. It's very much like a story-based, like basically almost a visual novel so far in a cool sci-fi world, but I've not seen enough of it to remark on it.
So I feel like this could be something that I've like suggested to you like 18 times, so I forgive me for that if I have. But have you seen Nuclear Nightmare?
I don't. Nuclear Nightmare.
It's straight up just like
it's the
we
thing.
Thought the thing was cool.
Yeah, this keeps getting recommended to me. I've shied away from it because it's a co-op online game, and also because it's early access.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah. Individual copies of that are pretty cheap. Let's discuss this later. This hasn't come up for me. Or I've not played it. It has come up for me. I'm aware of it. And then the other thing, My Summer Car is a game that recently hit that hit a 1.0 release, and it is incredibly interesting as an experience in a way that is really not fun.
Oh no!
This is the one I can probably camp out on a little bit because I played this. Somebody brought it up for Object Suffering several years ago. This has been in early access for quite a while. But it's called My Summer Car. It's kind of a life sim set in Finland in the summer of 1995. You are somebody who lives out in the country and you have no job or school for the summer, but there is a big disassembled car. Actually, the opening of the game is showing you being born in the backseat of this car. And you have a whole summer and free reign of this small town to build this car in excruciating detail. While keeping your meters fed and exploring and trying not to die because permadeath is on by default.
What?
The joke of this game, aside from the obvious jokes that are put into it, which is like there's a urine meter and you can piss anywhere and you relieve stress by swearing, just stuff like that. Like the joke of this game is that everything is simulated to a very hostile degree. Nothing is easy. Getting into and starting a vehicle is just a horrifying process. Like, the car.
I agree.
The car. It's in a million pieces. Like building it is the initial goal. To set out to like identify which parts are broken and then order the ones that you need to and go to the store and then start figuring out how these put together, which requires knowledge of where these car parts go.
So is this a game that you play in Google, like real life Google, as much as you do in the game?
Kinda. Like I didn't want to look up a guide, but I was like, okay, I know roughly like where these parts go. And this is before I recognized that some of them were just like straight up like burnt out and you had to order replacements. But like, I was just seeing like, okay, like what fits into it, what fits into each other. And it's not just like down to like, oh, you got to make sure that the pieces fit in the right spot. It's like if you put on the crankshaft cover, you can't put on anything that's beneath it. You have to put that on last. Like order of operations matters with it.
Oh.
But like getting around, you can like drive a tractor around from your uncle's house. Like you can get into his barn and drive that. But like getting into it and starting it up, like you have to manually interact with all of the knobs and levers to make it go. So it's not just like turning off the emergency brake. It's like,
how many levers could a tractor have?
So many. Like you can't just turn the ignition. You have to kind of like open up the throttle, but not entirely. Like if it won't quite start if the throttle's not in the right spot, and you just have to play around with it. And this even gets beyond like, you don't just build the car, but you have to tune and maintain it, so yeah, like playing it is this unwieldy nightmare. And I fucked around with it for about an hour today, thinking like, I just want to see what I can do. And like, I was at the end of one full day before I even figured out that before I even figured out how to like get the tractor out of the garage, let alone get it hooked up to a trailer, because you don't have an inventory. You have to load everything onto vehicles. So you can't just drive the tractor. You have to hook up a trailer to it so you can load shit into the back of it individually.
This game really doesn't want you to play it.
Oh God, not at all. But like, I don't know, like that hostile of a simulation is also a little bit of like a cognito hazard for me.
Yeah, sure.
It's just like I can probably crack this nut, right? I don't have any interest in building a car or maintaining it, but like, I don't know. I kind of want to see what happens once you're like, okay, I can drive this car, but now I've got to figure out like what I have to do to get the money to put gas into it. I want to meet more characters and stuff and see how far this world goes.
Surely this will click at some point.
At some point, it might be less of a nightmare. It just the act of playing it is its own kind of stunt, and that is fascinating to me.
So sounding uncomfortably close to life.
Are there things that are dangerous to you that are supposed to be dangerous to you?
You can like accidentally, like say if you get into a crash, like you might die. You can drown, because it's set in Finland. There is a sauna. If you don't like
wake up,
do everything right, you might burn your house down or die in the fire. You have your meters.
But there's no like people shooting at you or like
as far as
animals or anything like that.
As far as I can tell, I've not had any like whatever Finland has in place of coyotes. I've
Moose
not had
reindeer. Excuse me.
Yeah, I've not had reindeer come at me. Nobody is taking pot shots at me. But like, when you have food, even though you don't have an inventory, if you do not refrigerate it, it might go bad. And I think that it starts affecting your health. This
is Sim Game the game.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I can't say anything good about it other than the fact that it has continuously been fascinating.
Like someone had a very strong vision for what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's completely not correlated to if the vision is fun or like a good game.
Yeah.
And you can appreciate, this has a really strong vision behind it.
To give you
go ahead.
to give another sense of how hostile this is, not all of the text is translated.
Oh shit!
On purpose?
Yeah. So like, there's a car parts catalog that you can order stuff from, and you don't. It's not just like an interface. Like you select the stuff that you want to order, but it when you do that, it creates a it creates an envelope that you need to take into town and pay to mail. And then you have to wait a couple of days for the shipment to arrive at the store where you go to pick it up.
Good Lord.
But none of the text in the catalog is translated.
Sounds great.
It is 100%.
All right, I'm coming around. This game sounds
mode.
Hilarious.
Yeah, like I almost have to adore something this hostile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm about to make the most parent reference ever.
Go ahead.
There's what's her name? There's the kid in Bluey. It's like their cousin that is just like unequivocally hostile to literally everyone and has no redeeming qualities, and is also somehow the most cute character in the game. You find yourself rooting for them even though they are a complete prick 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So all my Bluey fans out there, where are we at?
Yeah, people horny post about Bluey. I think that's in the the dad in Bluey has people who are incredibly thirsty for him.
Okay, the dad in Bluey, I'll give you that. It's the voice.
Okay, yeah. But that's what I got. yeah, sorry, we're closed on My Summer Car. The only things that there's probably be more to talk about. I'll probably hit more Indiana Jones later on after I've played more of it and can tell you about the entire thing. And
Yeah, give
1,000
an
Times
epilogue.
Resist. Yeah.
Cool.
Any questions?
I'm heartened to hear the positive review for Indiana Jones because I hadn't really heard much from people who'd played it, like streamers and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
It got weirdly kind of just dumped onto Game Pass and like,
mhm.
here you go.
It's because of Bethesda. It's because of their deal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Cool. Who wants to go next?
I could go. I don't have a ton.
Okay.
So I've just been continuing on with Dying Light 2.
Okay.
I made it through. I don't know if this game explicitly has acts or anything like that, but I think I made it through kind of the first chunk of the story. So you, which, you know, where you have to kind of definitively ally with one of the two factions, and then also meet the guy you're trying to track down, only to find out that he's gone full Wesker, and now has superpowers. And you then finally get to kind of the downtown portion of the game, and it's a much different feel. All of a sudden, the game is extremely vertical. You've got high rises all over the place. And to go along with that, you very quickly get this basically a hang glider, like it's effectively like the video game wingsuit that is in every game now.
Yeah.
Stock video game wingsuit.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of fun. I think it kind of feels to me like it hits its stride. It gets to a point where both you're powerful enough, both in terms of like having actually unlocked things and in terms of like having accomplished enough story beats that, you know, now NPCs will recognize like badass stuff you did and be like, oh yeah, you're that guy, you know, that sort of thing, that it feels like it stops feeling the need for your character to just be this like insufferable edgelord in every conversation.
That's a start. Yeah.
They edgelorded until
and
they got enough respect, and then they chilled out.
Exactly. And
that's how that
along
works.
with that, you kind of switch over from, I don't know, honestly, the game being kind of edgelordy to, you know, where it's, you know, every conversation is just like, oh, well, maybe I'll help you, but only because it'll benefit me, to be like, no, like I'm actually like doing heroic things and helping people and stuff like that.
It actually like lets itself have fun.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the game works much better that way. Yeah, I mean, just across the board, especially because I don't know if it intends to do this, but it kind of walks backwards into a lot of your superpower is the fact that like this is kind of a world where there's these two factions that have been stuck in a stalemate for a long time, and you know, one of them is literally like that, you know, stuck in, you know, ye old medieval you know, type of vibes. And so the end result is a lot of your superpower is kind of just coming in and wrecking stuff up more than anything. So like,
call me the Black Plague, motherfucker.
Right, exactly. Like your character is depicted as being really good at fighting and really good at parkour, but other than that, you're not depicted as like having any particular insight into what's going on, or, you know, any particular skills. So it's kind of is very much just like, oh yeah, we always knew there was this tech up on the top of this skyscraper. We just never had anyone stupid enough to try to climb it. Why don't you go do that? The other thing that's kind of interesting is I didn't realize the game has kind of gone live service.
Oh, weird.
That's
which
usually
in
said
this
as a negative.
In this case, I don't think it's amazing decision, but it doesn't seem like they've gone hostile. So, like, as far as I can tell, there's no battle pass or anything like that. I think it's basically the like seasonal stuff is all free, and then they also release like DLCs that go with it if you want to like buy new outfits or weapons or whatever. So I don't think it's particularly hostile, and and it seems at least somewhat story oriented, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The one weird thing though is one of the first ones they released, because I'm coming in, like a year or so in, so there's been like 4 seasons. I guess that's the other good thing is, as far as I can tell, once the season's in, that's just content that exists now. There's no like, oh, you missed it. But one of the early seasons, well, I guess I should say, like, one of the big story elements of this is there are explicitly no guns this time around.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when the apocalypse was happening, the military rounded up and confiscated all of the guns and either destroyed them or hid them or whatever. And so, like, the NPC and people you meet talk about this, like, within this world, finding a gun would be something that would completely shift the balance of power in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the like early DLCs is like, oh yeah, someone found where they hid all the guns that they had confiscated, and like you can basically complete these quests to get a gun.
The American dream.
Oh yeah, it's simultaneously like really funny because a lot of the dialogue threads this very funny needle in that, like, there's all these things about like, yeah, we're gonna rebuild this city and we're gonna build it on firearms. There's something that sounds very like Murica F yeah type of thing, except that like that's not the context that any of the characters have. Like within their thing, it's like we've spent the last 15 years just every day you have a 50% chance of just getting killed by some random zombie, and so like being super excited about guns actually makes sense. So it's kind of this weird juxtaposition of this like very cringy like slogans, but that in world actually kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also just kind of weird to like undo one of the big like kind of world building points of this game. I do think in the previous game it had a fun balance of you could get a gun reasonably easy, but as soon as you fired it, all the zombies in the area knew where you were and were coming for you.
Oh no!
Yeah, it makes sense.
Which was really cool. Like it was a really good mechanic. The problem this thing though is I feel like they've kind of overused this, mainly maybe because they originally intended there to be no guns, where like a lot of the enemies now will have some mechanic that triggers that. So like there's enemies that are like hazmat workers with a oxygen tank, and so when you attack them, if you like rupture the tank, it'll explode and all the zombies will come running. So it's kind of a thing where it's like, well, almost every fight I got into triggered that mechanic anyways. So there's no longer any real significance to using a gun.
Okay.
I just like the idea that these people held or hid all the guns in one vault and all the silencers in another.
As you do.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, I unlocked the ability to Aikido throw enemies when they like charge and attack you.
Nice.
Which is a lot of fun because you can just get into fights with bandits on the top of a building and just win the fight by just throwing them all off the side.
I mean, that's been a tried and true practice since like Assassin's Creed.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. It's again, I feel like there is an art to making a game challenging enough, but also not being too worried about if the player, like in a given instance, kind of cheeses it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are various like spiked barricades and spiked barrels and stuff you'll find at certain places.
But no spiked bears.
Yes, spiked bears. It's very Russian. Actually haven't figured out where this game is supposed to be set, but that's a whole other thing. But if you like kick an enemy or throw an enemy into one of these spikes, it just instantly kills them. So if you happen to have a fight, particularly with like bandits near one of these things, you can straight up just like run around behind a dude and kick him into the spike, then run around behind the next dude and kick him into the spike. And like it's completely unrealistic and dumb.
Well, I mean, the spikes would get clogged like sandpaper at a certain point.
Oh yeah, like it's literally like you will have multiple people impaled on top of each other. Like but it's one of those things where as long as you can't do that every fight, it's actually pretty funny and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I think once it kind of loosens up both from a gameplay mechanics and from a characterization story thing, I think it really, really becomes a much better game, and I'm having a lot better time with it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any other questions about it. I mean, I'm happy that it finally kind of unflexed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Unclinched.
Yes. Yeah. Did you have anything else?
No, that's all I've got this time around.
Cool. Dying Light 2. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, so I've got two games that I've played before, but as I mentioned, I got a stomach bug this week along with everyone else in my family, which sent me looking for just like a comfort game.
Okay.
Something I go back into, that I could experience at my own pace, and it brought me back around to The Witness.
Hey,
Okay.
what?
Yeah.
Solving them waffles.
Yes.
Wait, how is that a relaxing game?
It moves at your own pace, and it's also very pretty in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would call it a pretty game.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, so this time I installed it on my Steam Deck, and I'm playing it that way for the first time.
Interesting.
Which does mean that I am infuriated with how long it takes to drag the marker through all the puzzles, because I'm doing it with a stick now, kind of pushing it around, whereas before you could just kind of drag your mouse and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the triggers will speed up the moving around, right?
I believe yes.
Okay.
Same for like walking and running.
Yep.
But it is, in general, it's just less precise.
Yeah.
But man, that's really the only criticism I can level at playing it on the deck. It is a game very much that you kind of play inside your head and kicking it around as much as you do actively pushing buttons. And so to have it on a device where, I can play it for 5 minutes and I'm stuck on this and I kind of pause it, set it down, go off and do something else. And I'm still working on that puzzle in the back of my head and then come back to it. Like it's just the perfect device to play it on. aside from the dam interaction with dragging the marker around, which I realize now. I bet you, because the deck is kind of a little tiny PC, I bet you I could set it up to use the trackpad to drag.
Yeah, there's probably even a like a pre-made configuration that somebody
I'll have
else
to look
made.
into that.
Yeah, take a look and see, because those are just available when you go into the option for that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take a look.
I still can't get over the idea of this as a chill game. Like, am I the only one that found The Witness like really upsetting? And I don't know, like you're trapped on this island and it won't let you go unless you solve. I don't know. The Witness creeps me the hell out.
I will say a skill that you need to enjoy The Witness is the ability to start something that seems like it should be the next thing, and then go, you know what? I don't think I'm equipped to solve this right now, and voluntarily walk away from it. And if you can't do that, you are going to get enraged real quick. Because the game definitely, as almost like a preview of things to come, will set puzzles out that you're just like, I don't know what any of these symbols mean, and screwing around with it for a little bit is not getting me closer to understanding. So I trust that this designer is going to give me these verbs at some point. There's nothing but knowledge stopping me from interacting with this puzzle right now, but clearly I am not supposed to interact with it yet.
Had you played a bunch of this before, or are you kind of
I never looked at like a percentage or anything like that, but I got, in my sense, very far into it. And then I got to a problem or a puzzle that I could not solve, and I didn't know anywhere else to go. So it kind of felt like I was in the final gambit or something like that. I don't know. And then got distracted by something else and never finished the game. But I think I got pretty far in it. And that's the other thing that's really interesting about playing it now is there's been when did The Witness come out? Like
2016.
2016. So
January
there's probably
28th, 2016, I think.
Okay, very cool.
You're just looking. 2026.
26, yeah, because it should be an anagram.
Bozo. Yeah. No. Sorry, I just thought that was being off by 2 is very funny. But since you gave the reasoning for that, that makes way more sense than you just having that memorized.
And not that he's looking at a Wikipedia page.
I had the Steam page open because
there you go. Yeah,
I've played and beaten this game, but it's always good to have it a refresher open. Yeah,
but to have a 5-year gap in like getting your vocabulary up, and I think we constantly compare The Witness to like learning a language. So getting really strong vocabulary and understanding the rules, and then just not speaking that language for 5 years.
Yeah,
coming back and dusting that off is a very different experience than learning it the first time. There's just a whole bunch of deja vu-ish moments, which, literally you're playing through the same levels. And so that's not so odd, but having the same aha moments is a really weird feeling. And even more frustrating though, or I should say on the frustrating side of that is knowing that you had an aha moment here last time,
but not being able to recapture it.
Coming this time. Yeah. Yes. I think in the like desert area where it's a bunch of puzzles with like light and kind of seeing the fingerprints on things, for lack of a better term. I have this really strong memory, and I'm like 95% certain that some of these puzzles, the way you solve them is by like literally changing the time of day or the position of the sun in the sky or something like that. But I'm like, just not sure enough of like, well, maybe that was another game. Was that, whatever it was, Rhyme or something else. And not being able to find how you would activate that and feeling stuck in the area. It's like, I know I figured this out. I know for a fact I figured this out. And I'm pretty sure like what kind of catch I'm looking for. But it's just not materializing it. That feels a little bit worse than if I was just experiencing it for the first time.
So it's simulating aging.
It really is. It's age simulator. Oh, yeah. But you know, in terms of from when you're kind of stuck in bed, you don't want to be moving that much. I was okay. You know, I won't say I was thinking that hard, but you know, okay, doing some puzzles. The Witness was perfect for that. Excuse me. I also stumbled relatively quickly into an area that I just never got to in the base game. And this was not for lack of progress. It's the castle where the puzzles you have to input by actually like walking across the plates. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never found that on my first playthrough.
Oh.
Never got there, never messed around with it.
Did you do the other part of the castle with the gardens?
I remembered the gardens.
Okay.
I don't remember the plates.
Okay.
So yeah, super weird, and I'm not sure what direction I spun off into that I missed it. But that was kind of a treat. Excuse me, to have this fresh set of puzzles that I knew I'd never interacted with before, to kind of mess around with. And yeah, so that's about where I am in the game. I went kind of down the left side of the island to that desert area. I also, another new area I got to was like actually onto the rusty boat. I've gone past it. But it's an area like, you know, for anyone who's not familiar with the game, there's like the official puzzles that are on a screen. And then you also find a whole bunch of these puzzles that are using the same shape of like a dot that leads into a line. But it's just like patterns.
Just talking about the
screens.
screens.
You're torturing Ben.
Yes. Sorry. We just established it's a nearly 10-year-old game, so whatever.
This is one of the few games where I think it is a treat to go to YouTube and find when people figure out other parts of the game that they didn't know existed. I think
Ben
there's
over here watching aha porn.
Well, I'm just saying there's very few other games that like reveal itself like that, and don't do it like at a certain like narrative beat, but rather people just figure it out at some point.
Yeah, it's just gonna. There's got to be like a supercut of those.
Aha porn would take forever to animate. That pencil sketch style.
Yeah, I got there.
Oh, no.
Different meaning for take on me.
Oh Lord. Yeah, so I did that. I did the water area, got onto that old rusty boat, and that area is entirely environmental puzzles, which was really interesting, and found a dialogue that I didn't remember seeing before. So it is kind of funny that this game, maybe one of the benefits of it being so willing to let you just kind of roam free range is in coming back to it, there's a whole bunch of freshness still in it that it didn't feel like it had to walk me to the first time. So it was there for me to discover the second, which, complete niche case. I doubt that they were specifically thinking of that when they designed the game. But it's really nice to experience.
Nice.
Yeah, that's The Witness.
Cool.
I'm biting my tongue so hard because everything I would want to talk about that is like spoilers for the game.
Yeah, so. It is the one game you want to talk about the most, yet you can't.
Yeah,
Yes.
constitutionally. If
I will say, similar to that, like I know there's a trick to this. I've spent so much time in an area being like, I know I found the line last time, somewhere around here. And just wobbling around looking, etc. But so that game, that's the game I went to when I was feeling sick. If anyone has a couple sick days where they need a comfort game, highly recommend.
I do want to say one thing to alleviate some stress is that the sun does not move. So you don't need to worry about that.
Really? What I must be remembering, I think it was Rhyme, right?
I can't recall. It's very important that the sun doesn't move.
Yes. That is fair. Well, and as I was thinking, I was like, maybe it's just localized to like this area and you can only do it while you're in proximity to something. But like changing the way the light was coming from felt important.
Yeah.
Let me hold on a second. Yeah, it is Rhyme. Rhyme has a whole thing around that. That's what I was remembering. Okay. Yeah, so that's The Witness. And then I do want to take a second. It's been a minute since I talked about Trackmania to talk about some new stuff that has showed up there. So if we don't want to talk about or spoil anything else on The Witness, I'll hop over to that.
I don't have anything more to say or learn about The Witness, I think.
There's always something new to learn.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, Trackmania, it is, a new quarter of the year. And so there's a new campaign out. And the really notable thing is that it is only the stadium car. So I've talked, pretty much every time I talk about Trackmania in the past, 3 years, 2 years, it's been about them introducing a new type of vehicle.
Yeah. And the kind of uproar that has caused.
Yeah, just like, new thing bad is not exactly the reaction it's got, but people like feeling like it is hard to figure out how to use this new one and whatever. And I guess they relented and or just decided it was time to do a campaign that was exclusively focused on their bread and butter. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying the fact that it feels like a return to old school form. And I think I would be a little off put if no campaign ever had the new car types again.
Mm-hmm.
But to have just one campaign dropped in that is just stadium car is really, really nice. So in case anyone listening was put off by all the new car stuff, you got some good stuff to come back to right now.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that they've added to the campaign, or to the game, I should say, is weekly shorts. So, campaign tracks are about a minute long each, and they're going to be hunted relentlessly. They're going to be, every inch of them is going to be scrutinized for the best line, and in general, they are expected to be jank free.
Okay,
you define jank free.
Yeah, just funky things with the physics or off-kilter kind of jumps, things that are a little bit too trial and error to get right, or to execute consistently. They're very much frowned upon in Trackmania because it's a deterministic game. People are competing over thousandths. Oh God, trying to say that out loud is hard. Of a second, And so, there's a level of polish that you want where you can find a clean line, you can find a line that you can execute well if you are skilled enough. And so the other side of things, that's campaign tracks. The other extreme side is what they call khaki tracks, where, and I forget why, I think it's a username or something who started it. It's just like extremely random LOL craziness. That's got a niche. Shorts fall in the middle of that. So every week they put up 5 new tracks. It started the first 3 weeks were made by Nadeo, and now they're starting to transition into tracks made by users and submitted by other players. And these are shorter tracks. Of note, they do not let you see the ghosts of other players while you are racing.
Because it's like Dark Souls, you would see threats.
Perhaps, or see opportunities. But the idea is that these tracks are a little bit funkier. They try a little bit crazier things. And it's more about like figuring out the trick or finding a cut or what have you, than it is, kind of racing and perfecting a line. And it's so much fun. It is, I feel like, a side of Trackmania that feels more accessible to anyone who wants to map. Because, like, I can do something interesting. I can't do something super polished as a mapper.
But, like, you can make a statement map that has, like, a cool hook.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And then as a player, like, I can try to make this tricky jump. Or try to find this cut, whereas I'm never going to be in the top 0.01% on these campaign maps. If I can find the trick, especially if my trick isn't then promptly displayed to everyone else that's playing, there's just like a freedom there that makes you feel liberated to just mess around with a map. on both the player and the creator side. And so, yeah, in the first couple of weeks, I think we're on our 4th week of them now. The map ideas have been completely insane, very janky and funky, but a ton of fun. And it just like to have that officially supported in the game, and to have like a place for that, is really nice now. And then of course at the end of the week, once the leaderboards are locked, all the times and ghosts are revealed, and you can go back and see how everyone did it. In credit to the Trackmania community, plenty of people are like posting videos of new lines or cuts they find anyway online. People aren't being super like protective or secretive about stuff. Yeah. It almost feels like a little bit of a scavenger hunt. Like, one of the maps will be, okay, there's a super obvious cut at the start here. So that's too obvious. And then you kind of mess around. You're like, oh, okay. If I don't take that cut, then there's another cut a little later on I can do. And that's faster. And then, oh, wait, though, if I do this, I can like basically go backwards on the map, and that opens up. It's a whole new way to enjoy Trackmania that feels very accessible, very creative, and very much my jam. So, new winter campaign is great and focused on the base car, and the new weekly shorts format has a ton of promise, and I cannot wait. Both to make and submit stuff myself, but then also just to see what the rest of the community puts together.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like what I would, the version of this that I would be most interested in. So,
it is the version of Trackmania that, I think a lot of people have in their heads for this game that just never really had a home before. And so, it's a...
What was the PS4 one that I played that was like, I thought it was
Turbo.
I thought I was sitting down and finally getting on your wavelength, and I brought it to the show, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not like any of the other ones.
That's Trackmania's weird cousin.
Yeah. But that one being like more explicitly arcadey, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like super technical at all. It's actually really, it's cool.
Man,
it very much has a turbo.
Too.
Oh yeah, it
like
very much has a
Paradise
Trackmania turbo
2.
vibe in shorts.
Yeah.
So that's me. That's what I've been playing.
Cool. Well, sounds like a segment.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
Yeah, since last week we did the Toadies. Thank you again for indulging us. This is our first multiplayer of the new year. So I wanted to know, what New Year's resolutions do you imagine your favorite video game characters are making? And do they actually get anywhere close to keeping them?
Yeah. And I'll get us started here with Peter, who says, I imagine Joker, Persona 5's protagonist, depending on how you play Persona 5, might do one of three things when it comes to his female confidants. These are the social links that can be upgraded by spending time with a specific person throughout the game. In my first playthrough, or as Kole and Gary might say, the follow your nose playthrough, I made sure to romance one specific girl out of all of the potential ones. Afterwards, I learned that realistically, there is no real consequence for not romancing all of the possible leads. And, well, not only is there a trophy and achievement, there is a relatively funny scene that plays out as part of the end of the game. Needless to say, my Joker regularly makes the commitment to not romance every single lady social links, except I keep playing these games as new games on new systems, and I keep doing it. And says, for the record, you can make Joker not romance any of the lady social links, in which case he just hangs out with his bros. So, making so Joker is less of a player. Still a player character, not a player. Yeah.
Yeah, I spend more time with my bros,
Yeah. Let's see. Ben, what does Callum say?
Callum says, I can imagine Kratos keeping his resolution to not kill more gods for, pause to check boy's age, 11 years, it seems.
See, I've not played Ragnarok, so I do not know if that is referencing something with that.
I think it might just be referencing the first one, since he's 11 years old, maybe when all that stuff starts. But
okay. Yeah.
Could be wrong. There's a lot of god killing all over the place there.
There in the first game, there is very much, Lord forgive me, I've got to go back to the old me.
Yeah.
That is almost literally what happens in John Wick.
Yeah. Weapons under the floorboards.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Gosh.
I like to imagine though in those intervening 11 years that like, you know, he had resolved I wasn't going to kill any more gods, but then he sees one of his friends killing a god and he's like, hey, you got an extra god I can kill.
When you're on the wagon, you really have to control your exposure to your triggers. Yeah.
It's hard though. You know, you go out drinking and someone's got gods there and
yep. They got to go.
What can you do?
Yeah.
You just have to make sure you don't kill the first god because then, you know, the ones after that are the harder ones to control.
Yeah.
Yep.
Moxie, what does Lindsay say?
Lindsay says, Kefka's resolution is as it's always been, to destroy the world. But in the middle of doing so, take a well-earned vacation.
We can't all be pushing statues around all the time.
No.
Kefka being the clown villain from Final Fantasy VI.
One of the worst villains generally considered, yes.
I mean, he does.
Sorry,
succeed.
worst. No, one of the most morally reprehensible villains.
Yeah. He does poison literally an entire city's water supply. He does successfully end the world, and the party only succeeds in stopping him from ending it further. Yeah. I'm gonna say Disco Elysium. Harrier Dubois, main character there, to drink more.
So that's the playthrough.
No. That's the only answer that I have, and I'm surprised nobody got in there with that. Ben, how about you?
Sonic's resolution, gotta go fast.
And he will by virtue of who he is. Moxie, how about you?
Honestly, I don't have a good one, although just with the image that Dennis chose, I just have to imagine that at some point Agent 47 is going to have a resolution to remove the incredibly identifying tattoo on the back of his head.
He does that in Absolution, but I don't know how he gets it back.
Oh, no,
he literally has like somebody cut that skin off in Absolution.
Oh really? I forget that part. Oh.
Yeah.
I was just imagining like though going through tattoo removal of any sort and then realizing at the end of it, oh wait, I need to get it back for some reason.
He changes it out for a QR code.
Yeah. It's more modern. Yeah.
Oh my God.
The post image that Dennis chose is Hitman. It's a Happy New Year. It appears to be an official Happy New Year image promoting Hitman 3. So
yeah, go figure.
Yeah. And Dennis, how about you?
Wait,
yeah. Well, I was going to say Sonic would resolve to go slower.
I was going to say they're going to make enough Hitmans
that
the number for it's going to just be the barcode.
And then my other one was going to be Hitman resolving to be more creative in the ways he kills people.
Hitman learning to add any kind of inflection to his voice. By Hitman, I mean Agent 47. He is not Hitman. He doesn't have a name, but not in that particular way.
Yeah. So those my two got swooped.
Yeah.
Go figure.
There we go. So we're going to be changing the way we do multiplayer. I don't want to sanction Facebook anymore. Facebook has always sucked for a very long time. Recent shit. Not cool. You know, this specific rule carve out where you can say horrible things about trans people and women. Not cool. Don't want to support that. So, Dennis, what is the new way that we are going to be phasing in?
Yeah. So Blue Sky has been taking off. And is now has been for a while open to anyone. So in case you heard about it and checked out, because it was a closed platform, it is kicking, growing, and open. So you can go to the Level Podcast on Blue Sky and find our multiplayers, probably links to our episodes and additional fun extras there. So that is the Level Podcast on Blue Sky. And we will primarily be doing multiplayers that way. Although you can always find us on the Slack, as you have in the past. And for a while, we'll probably link from Facebook to Blue Sky just so people know where to go. But yeah, fuck this place. Fuck Facebook.
Yeah.
Social media without a billionaire behind it.
Yeah, without an algorithm specifically, like you see who you follow in chronological order, which is badass. Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah. So just the Level podcast on Blue Sky. Just do a search for that, follow it, and we're going to be making the changeover. That'll probably be the primary place we post it next week, unless anything's different.
Nope. Account's set up, ready to go.
Cool.
You can also now apparently find Ben Merkel on Blue Sky.
What?
Ooh.
I was not aware of this.
Ooh.
I wasn't until like 5 minutes ago.
That's dirty. That's dirty pool. If Ben does not want to be
identified.
Sure.
No. That's okay.
I mean, it's his name, so not doing too much to hide it. But no, I will not call undue attention to that if you want to retake.
No. I appreciate it. I'm trying to juice up the movement.
I mean, you did increase our followers by half, so.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's the end of that segment. Thank you for posting that, Dennis. I know I need to change the way I've programmed myself to.
Oh yeah, you gotta off the cuff. Yeah. Now, what you say right now will set the pattern that you are locked into for the next umpteen years. Go.
The end boss.
Now it's time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Talk about how they make us feel. Let's see here. We have 2 stories related to Path of Exile. I
could start. Mine's transitioning from what we just talked about.
Yeah. Speaking of social media billionaires who fucking suck.
Yeah. So this happened this past week where it kind of came to light that Elon Musk, who brags about how good he is at video games and how like high ranked he is, plays Path of Exile on a piloted account. And so there's a stream of him playing it, and then there's people who are like actual Path of Exile streamers, basically reviewing or watching the playthrough and then giving criticisms of it, and basically commenting how like he's basically not picking up any items that you normally would be picking up when you're at max level, the things that are valuable, of like not knowing how to do basic things like clicking on a map and stuff like that. And so this kind of comes at no surprise, because it's like you either are wholly committed to running a company or you play video games as like your career, but you probably don't do both, and you're not good at everything.
He barely does that first one. He just posts all the time and calls it working. So by pilot account, like what we mean is like that he pays somebody else to like grind up and like post these, basically give him fodder for screenshots or whatever. But
let's be honest, he probably doesn't pay them.
Maybe there's just somebody who's such a simp,
some sycophant.
But like this is a thing that people suspected about his Diablo 4 play, but didn't have as much like pretty concrete evidence about this. And it's not just like, oh, he's playing badly. It also is like he is saying things while he streams or whatever that is like, oh, that's just a lie. He's just making that up about this. Like anybody who knew this would not. Yeah,
and one of the criticisms I saw of like a streamer who's playing is like, I've seen a couple of his streams now. He's mostly AFK like most of the time. And he'll say a few things, but he doesn't actually like play the game when he's streaming it as well. But I wanted to put the silver lining on this story is it's nice that this sort of like fraud can be figured out very quickly in the current like online environment that we're in. And it's like, you sometimes actually have to be good at something if you say you're good at it.
I just think it's telling that being good at video games as like something that was very important to me and that I wanted to brag about stopped when I was, I don't know, maybe 15.
I think it kind of goes back to like, I don't think these people are saying this because they think it's cool. I think they're trying to say this because they're trying to make other people think that they're cool.
Totally. But it's it's telling to have gotten stuck in like a 15-year-old's concept of what people think is cool.
It's very, I mean, it's just like him wanting to be a poster, wanting to be the ultra funny meme lord, super popular online witty smart guy who everybody admires, but very clearly he doesn't have the juice, and anybody he would want to respect him definitionally will not because of the skills that are put forward. I would call this pathetic, but it fails the criteria insofar as it does not elicit any pathos. It's baffling. I do not understand why you would lie about this, because anybody who would find this impressive would immediately see right through it. And people who think it is dumb would not be convinced otherwise just by big numbers in a screenshot. It is not a thing that is intrinsically worth valuing. And the fact that he seems to care so fucking much about it, again, it would be pathetic if there was any kind of like human tragedy around this other than what he routinely and intentionally inflicts on people who cannot help but be subject to him.
Yeah, I feel like if you were going to do like a tragic hero thing, probably about the closest would be the irony of the fact that like he had most of America's respect,
but he had to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Like back when he, was the guy who, had done Tesla and SpaceX and people thought he was freaking, Tony Stark. Like if he had just, quit while he was ahead, I don't know.
But no, he had to be a poster. He had to get out there. He had to start accumulating power. Yeah.
It should also be like a lesson to people that like the one person, like the sole genius is like a myth and doesn't really exist. It's like even things that are great in like art and literature and stuff, typically it's like a group of people who are doing it.
Yeah. Feels like it's a bit of a failsafe built into human hubris that like I like to think that if I ever got like so big in such a positive way for pick a thing, I would have the good sense to just like step back and take it and not ruin it. But there are so many examples of people fucking this up. I feel like there's a fundamental human drive to sniff your own farts.
Yeah. And like, it comes from being completely detached from reality. It comes from only being surrounded. I think that there is a decent amount of just pure delusion. And also the fact that being incredibly wealthy and or powerful literally causes brain damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll be able to say that being transgender is a mental illness on Facebook, but you probably won't be able to say being a billionaire is a mental illness.
Nope. No. You can't say most of the things I want to say about him in public or in a place where you post. Yeah, no. It's fucked up. Fucked up. Dumb thing to lie about, dumb thing to care about.
Apologies to Path of Exile 2 for getting caught in this crossfire. Yeah,
it is cool. Yes, speaking of Path of Exile 2, yes.
Well, they've been in the crossfire for other things as well. Specifically, and these ones more deserving, that, they have a pretty insane difficulty curve at the end of their game. And pretty, not just difficult, but punishing when you fuck it up, to where, hours of effort put into generating very rare resources to get one try at something, and then literally just no way to redo or recoup any of that if you make one wrong step in these endgame dungeons. That hasn't sat so well for people, and it's very cathartic for me to watch the arc of this because, I love difficulty in games. I'm on record on that. I like to play on the hardest settings. I like to challenge myself that way, etc. But also, like, not every game is made better by being more difficult. And again, said as someone who loves a challenge and loves punishing games, etc. And the one genre I would say represents that the most has to be the ARPG genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm playing my Diablo likes, I just want to be crushing through waves of enemies. I don't want to have to be like calculated and with my brain on and on point. Like it is particle effects and big numbers for me. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of scratch my head that Path of Exile 2 went this route. Like at launch, that was one of the big things is like, this game is really going to grind you down. This game is really going to punish you. I'm like, I don't think that's what that is for. Like that feels at odds.
That's what they did in Path of Exile 1 though. Like that's always
really
been
was
their
it?
brand.
Interesting. I thought Path of Exile 1 was like granularity over necessarily difficulty, but I'm not equipped to talk about that.
The thing I know specifically is they were super hostile to the idea of like respecs.
Oh yeah, interesting. That's never a good idea. Anyway, yeah. So at launch, I heard a lot of chatter on like, oh man, yeah, this is Diablo 4, but actually hard. And like and I'm like, that does not sound good to me in any way.
Yeah.
So people have kind of come around on that and are realizing, maybe spending 5 hours grinding for something to only have one misstep take it away irrevocably is bad. And to their credit, the devs seem to be listening. So Grinding Gear Games is putting out a patch this week as of recording that will hopefully ease some of the difficulty, but then has said that like, hey, we're looking at bigger changes to make this less punitive because we want people to enjoy playing our games. So yeah, it's funny, the X plus Dark Souls or X plus difficulty kind of slapping that on is not always a recipe for success in ARPGs, especially in my mind. And that seems to be playing out with Path of Exile.
Difficulty needs to be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. I've got one veering back into Hellworld.
Oh no.
So there's going to be a new season of the Fallout television show. It was very strongly hinted at the end of the first season. It was a very strong season of television, I thought. And they were going to get back to filming, I believe this week, but filming had to be delayed because of the LA wildfires, which are upending just thousands of lives right now.
Yeah.
There are some jokes. I mean, not like making fun of people kind of things, but like the pithy version of this that I saw was, show about apocalypse delayed for actual apocalypse in progress, which is a fun way to to sum it up. But also like this is me getting on a soapbox. The old canard about like, oh, the times are going to be really rough, but at least it's going to produce amazing art. I don't think that the Fallout Season 2 is going to be amazing art, it's pretty good art. And what this is demonstrating is that the prerequisites necessary for things to actually be made and put out are a stable world where people can do their work without fearing for their lives, and preferably, we're working on this. People say it's impossible. Preferably, can make a living off of doing it. And this is a stark illustration of that. Who knows when they're going to get back to filming? This is not the first time that that television has been delayed because of wildfires. Has happened a bunch. Like it famously, like it's one of the reasons why season 2 of Westworld took a shit. Right? It was because of production delays on that. But yeah,
was that also the writer's strike?
No, that was early. That was not a writer's strike, I don't think.
Wow, Westworld season 2 was that bad without the writer's strike?
Yeah. I never watched season 2 because I felt like season 1 gave me enough. But
yeah, I tried and regretted it deeply.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is I guess I'm just surprised that they're actually out in California doing all this, which, Californian film. Okay, maybe that's not that surprising, but
is the game or the show set in New California?
Yeah,
It's
yes.
It's going to be New Vegas for season 2 because they've already leaked sets where they've been filming in the past few months.
I feel like at this point they should go with 76, the one where all of the heroes are literally firefighters.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's the reveal at the end of season 1 is that it's going to be at least have something to do with New Vegas. So
did they, in terms of going back to was this good art? Because I haven't seen it. Do they keep the anti-capitalist message?
yeah, it gets a little ham-handed in a very specifically Bethesda dumb kind of way, but yeah, that's still there. It is not especially defanged.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah. So that's my story. Moxie, round us out. What's happening in the world of independent survival horror?
Yeah, so this is a funny one in that it's very on topic, but is a horrible story for a podcast because it's innately visual. Someone made a survival horror game that is impossible to screenshot. So in this game, the interface, what you're seeing is basically static. Old school black and white snow static. And if you screenshot, you'll get just a screenshot of static because each frame is static. When you're seeing, the way you see, say, objects in this game is the area where an object is, the static is changing all in a certain way between each frame.
Right.
So your eye can pick up that there's an object there. Even if you look at any individual frame, you just see, an undifferentiated field of static.
Yeah. I was not convinced that this effect would work. I opened the video that you linked and I was just like, okay, I'm watching it. I can see text. And then I pause it and then the text disappears.
Yep.
It does not look especially legible in play. I would have a very rough time playing this.
So the video itself doesn't actually show anything from the game, I don't think, because this was someone's originally someone's project to experiment with graphics and stuff, basically proving that they could do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone suggested, hey, you should make a survival horror game out of it. And actually with that, one of the cool things is all of the technology algorithms to do this is all open source, is available on GitHub.
Yeah, it's just made in Godot.
Right.
Yeah, so the creator of this is somebody on itch who goes by Branta Games, and the game is called Motus, M-O-T-U-S. And I'm very happy looking at the page because very prominently displayed, before you get any description, is a seizure warning. I was looking at this and thinking, this will probably make somebody really sick if they look at it. So,
but yeah,
honestly, I almost feel like, I don't know, the use case that would excite me is the reverse, where if you couldn't see it in motion, you could only see it when you paused.
Okay.
Which I mean, I guess you could kind of force that by popping something onto the pause screen and then making it disappear. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how you actually turn this into a game. It's a really interesting tech demo.
Yeah. So if you do watch the whole video, he kind of it starts out with him. I'm sorry about that. With him just showing the hey, you can see shapes, and later on he then shows here's how you can do depth, where basically he has things that are closer to you change more rapidly and things that are farther away change more slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on shows like, hey, you can get the eye to interpret a 3D effect by having like different parts of an object change in ways that are related.
Okay.
So like as you watch the video, it never gets like, this is always going to be a game that is super hard to look at, but it does get a little bit more where you can see like, okay, I can now more see how you could like, show walls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what makes it interesting to not be able to see it when it's static, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it's just a thing, especially because that came before the game. I guess that means it's impossible to spoiler.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, well, and it's so interesting that like you got to design games nowadays kind of expecting that people are going to stream it or, share it, etc. And so doing interesting things with that is, I don't know, I just don't immediately see how, but it's intriguing.
I could see getting real paranoid about trying to discern whether or not the static that you are seeing is meaningful versus if it is just random noise. You get something like what happens in if you're watching like Skinamarink, where the visual fidelity of the image is so low while so little is happening that your mind starts making up shit to see in the film grain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see this being something that, like, even if it can't support an entire game, I could see this being an effect that some game uses to do something cool.
Yeah. I had to X out of it because it was making me nauseous. Actually, I don't think this is what I'm streaming, folks. Cool. Well, how does everybody feel about buttoning it up?
Let us button.
The credit.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to level number 528. We appreciate you taking the time. Like we said, we're changing the way we're doing the multiplayer, moving it over to Blue Sky, just at thelevelpodcast.bsky.social. Just do a search for it there. I'll also, repost and whatnot, when that stuff goes live. Otherwise, you know what to do. You've listened to podcasts before. You know how to support us. I talked about streaming earlier, and if you want to watch me stream horror games, those are on the Duckfeed Switch or the Duckfeed Twitch channel. Duckfeed.tv on Twitch on Friday and Saturday nights. Let me see. Anybody else have anything they want to plug?
No, not beyond the new spot for multiplayers.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've been Kole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Kole Ross.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Blue Sky at Furia Games and also manning the Level Podcast.
I'm Moxie.
And I'm Ben Merkel, and you can find me at Ben Merkel at Blue Sky.
Nice.
Man, now I'm going to have to get on Blue Sky. Some of that peer pressure.
That's fine.
Juice it.
And stick around for some titles. All right. I only have one, which is Take On Me.
Yup.
Oh boy.
I didn't want it to have it be aha porn because I didn't want it to be an overtly horny title.
No. Take On Me is amazing.
Yeah.
So
good.
I only have one. I have Stack Ranking the Hosts.
Let me see here. Stack Ranking the Hosts.
Speaking of Stack Ranking, did you see another asshole Facebook thing? They are laying off 5% of their staff.
Yeah, and removing like protections for LGBT people and stuff, and also moving a lot of the operations to Texas. Yeah.
Yep.
No. Yeah. Fine.
And jabbering about how they're going to make all their mid-level development AI, which is can't wait for that.
Yeah, no, please.
Good luck.
Please, no.
Can't wait.
Please, no, stop. Don't do that. No. Dennis, any titles?
Yes, beyond Take On Me. I had B-rated horror ensues.
Okay.
And then also they scream if they're only half there.
I like that one out of context.
Yeah. I like that too. I like that quite a bit. Ben, what do you have?
I've not had a reindeer come at me. A lot of horny titles this week too.
What's horny about I've not had a reindeer come at me?
Well,
okay. All right. I mean, like, yeah, if I stretch, I'm not seeing that one initially. I really like they scream if they're only half there.
I like that one too. Yeah. It's haunting.
All right, it is decided.